everybody, this is Skeet.
This is Mosh and Mikey.
Rock and Roll Roundtable.
Yeah, our good friends at Mosh Man Media. Having another episode for you today.
This week, legendary live albums.
Ooh, the live album debate. Right? Okay. Live albums were much more prevalent, if you want to call it relevant, even relevant, in the 70s and 80s. I mean, just to be honest, when the vinyl was a big thing, live albums were much more cooler because you had the sleeves, it showed the crowds, it showed the stage, it had a lot of little booklets in them that had pictures from the show. It was just the vinyl album, the sound of a vinyl kind of reminds me of a live album feel, more raw, more authentic. I mean, there's still live albums today. And one of my favorite live albums, of course, is anything Ginger does. They have 2 live albums themselves. But it was more of a production and more of a big deal during the what we call legendary band era. At least what I call legendary. From the late 60s, early 70s up through, to say, early 90s. Some of the best live albums produced. And there's a couple on here, and I got a list, and I wrote down some, and then I found a list of other ones that were suggested.
Okay.
And a couple of them, I'll be honest, I've heard a song or two,
Okay.
but a lot of them I've heard the whole thing. So it's like there's a lot of great music here. One of the first ones I'll talk about is one that my mom bought me as a kid. She didn't know the band. She didn't know anything about it. It was on a pretty blank cover. She got it at like a yard sale, actually. And she gave it to me when I was, I don't know, 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
It was The Who, live at Leeds.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I didn't know who The Who were at that point in my life. So yeah, I had that vinyl for many, many years. And yeah, it had some great songs on it. So it was like that kind of introduced me to The Who. And I think live albums are a good indicator, a good way to start with bands if you don't know them. You got greatest hits and you got live albums because they play the best of the best, right? So that was a pretty cool experience to get that and not really know how. I wish I'd have kept that album because it's considered like hard to find in place. So yeah, I missed that one. Now, one that I know a lot of people talk about through the critics and all that is the Allman Brothers live at Fillmore East, is it? I think East, yes.
Okay.
1971, this album. Now, I've heard plenty of songs off of this, but I wasn't an Allman Brothers guy. No disrespect. It was just, I wasn't a big guitar. I'm not like a Grateful Dead, Fish, all that jam band stuff. It just didn't appeal to me. So as great as the Allman Brothers songs are that I hear, Whipping Post, Melissa, and all this stuff, I just never gravitated to them for that reason.
Okay.
But that album's on everybody's list, from what I can see, of being a top pick. Now, for me personally, the one of the ones I had when I was a kid, my brother had this. And I didn't know much about the band. I knew at that point they had one song I knew. It's called Smoke on the Water. That's the only song I knew of Deep Purple. But he had this made or live in Japan. It was like a gold-colored sleeve outside cover.
Okay.
But I thought it was so cool. And my brother, worked nights when I was really young. He was 11 years older than me. So when he had that, I'd go up and listen to his room and pick random stuff. So I picked that one night and listened to it. I was like, hey, it's really good, but I kind of learned I'm not a keyboard fan. But, still, it was like, now I look back, it's like, oh, man, I got to hear that pretty young.
Yeah.
So it's a good album, I guess, if you're big into Deep Purple. I really never really got there with Deep Purple, but.
Okay.
Let's go to some more we know. Oh, yeah. Led Zeppelin. The Song Remains the Same was like actually a big introduction thing for me because I think it was on like Movie Channel or Stars or something, the movie,
Yes.
and it was like the movie was cool. That kind of made me put me in that. I'd like to do that when I got older. I didn't really care for the music at the time. I had to catch up with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was the staple songs. Yeah, sure, Stairway to Heaven, Rock and Roll, all that stuff. But yeah, I didn't get into like When the Levee Breaks and the hit, the more
Going to
B side.
California,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I Ramble On, all that. I didn't get into all that till later. And actually, Into the Outdoor was one of my favorite Zeppelins. A lot of people don't agree, but this live album, yeah, it was cool because it had the soundtrack and the movie, which yeah was pretty cool for me because I like seeing visual stuff too. And like there's a Rolling Stones one out here on here in 1970s. I wouldn't care about that. And I don't know that. Do you ever hear of a live album, Rolling Stones? Have you heard it?
Which one was it? What was it called?
It's this one. Get your yah-yahs out.
I think
Yeah,
I've ever heard that one.
yeah. It's like this one. Some of these come off of a list of like top 10 classic rock live albums, but I've never heard of that. And I'm a fair weather Rolling Stones guy. I love a bunch of their songs, but could care less about a bunch of their songs. So I wouldn't go out and hunt for a live album for that. Pete, here's what we talked about. We talked about this one quite a bit, and we both listened to it to refresh. We were going to do kind of the episode about this album by itself. But, that's hard to do a whole album, deep dive with a live album, especially when as great as Frampton Comes Alive is, as far as the ambiance of it, right?
Yeah,
Just the crowd, the talk box. Yeah, the talk box became a thing when Frampton did that.
yeah, yeah.
But there's like four or five songs that I really get excited about. And the rest is just kind of like, I don't know. It's the atmosphere keeps me engaged, right? It's the whole crowd, the vibe of it. But the songs were like okay. But then you had a few bangers on there, "Show Me the Way" was one I had heard as a kid. I thought was so great, and
Well,
"Baby I Love Your Way," and
the big ones from that are huge fucking hits. I understand why, but listening
yeah,
to that album because that's we were gonna do just Peter Frampton Comes Alive. We were gonna do it, and
yeah,
it was just decent songs on the whole thing, or just good songs. But I don't fucking remember those. I don't remember those songs.
yeah. Well, my thing with that, I still consider it one of the highest, great, one of the best live albums. But it's not because of musical superiority. It's like I said, it's a feeling, a vibe kind of thing that I got from the album. And Peter Frampton I thought he was super cool, but I didn't follow him a bunch. I had another I'm in You album. I had that album. I
Okay.
loved him in Sergeant Pepper's, the musical Sergeant Pepper's with the Bee Gees. He was Billy Shears in that. So I was a big Frampton guy, but that album was really good. But now it's not, to me, it's not epic, groundbreaking as I thought back in the day when I was a kid listening. Re-listening to it kind of is like, oh, okay.
Well,
It's like anything else. You get
it's
older, you
for
just kind
that
of,
time. For that time, it was
yeah,
impressive. It was.
yeah. I think the talk box was, the main thing people got out of it because I don't think anybody before that really used the talk box as
Yeah.
much as Frampton does.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the next album I got is in the same vein with this because Cheap Tricks Live at Budokan. I wore this album out, dude. I would air guitar and air sing to the whole album
Okay.
live at Budokan just because the songs were catchy, like "Hello There" when they started the show. It was like, oh yeah. But they had, of course, "Surrender" was on that. "Ain't That a Shame?" And then the Fast Domino cover. Yeah, they had a bunch of great songs on. And then they had "Clock Strikes 10" at the end, which phenomenal. But then I listened to that again. It's like some of the middle songs were like mediocre. But again, it was the vibe of that. You
Yeah.
hear the Japanese kids going ballistic. The whole album, you screamed. It's like Elvis almost.
Yeah.
Like the Beatles reincarnated was Cheap Trick. Now, whether or not that's all authentic, I would think so in the 70s because I don't know how you add too much to it. That's just me, though. Another one that I thought was underrated, really, because I listened to it a lot, and people don't talk about it as much as Double Live Gonzo. I mean, that whole new. I mean, I spent hours upon hours listening to that album, and it was just cool because Ted was, he was carefree. He didn't really hold anything back. When you have a song called "Wang Dang Sweet Poon Tang," you don't care about much, man. You're
Yeah.
just letting it rip. Stranglehold live was cool to hear. Great White Buffalo, one of the best songs
Yeah.
ever.
Great White Buffalo
Uh,
is a fucking badass song.
Yank me, crank me. It's just like, and the singer was, underrated. Derek St. Holmes, right? I think I saw him years ago by himself, and it was like a very cool show. He did all like news and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that album's phenomenal, man. I still pick that up. I'll still go into my files and play that once in a while. It was a great album. Now, here's one I'm sure that was big on your list. Maybe not when it initially came out, but at some point. "If You Want Blood," you got
Yeah.
it. That might be the first time I ever heard AC/DC, to be truthful. My buddy, a couple houses down from me, his older brother had bought this out. And I thought it
Okay.
was cool to cover with the
Yeah.
guitar sticking through Angus's stomach. I was like, what is this stuff? And then he played it. I was like, I was a little annoyed by just the singer right off the bat. Kind of like I was with Eddie Vedder when he came out. I didn't
Yeah.
understand it. It was like so different. I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird. But dude, man, that might be one of my favorite live albums at this point in my life. I haven't cared for AC/DC's studio albums in a decade, probably or more.
Yeah.
But that album there is the old. I love Bon Scott. I'm a Bon Scott guy. If I have to choose, it would always be Bon Scott. No I'm not saying Brian Johnson didn't do great, hasn't done a great job in AC/DC. Yeah. I just prefer Bond's got a little bit of a swag to his voice, a little more of an attitude. And that album was like personified. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just great. And a lot of these albums, though, like other than like Double Life Gonzo, but like Budokan and a couple of The Who, they're just like 10 songs. They're not like a normal, like Double Life Gonzo is like, yeah, that's plenty of music. Frampton Comes Alive was longer. But so you'll get hit and miss with that. Uh, Another one I was introduced by my buddy, his older brother, was Neil Young and Crazy Horse.
Oh wow.
Rust Never Sleeps, or Live Rust, I should say. It's the Rust Never Sleeps album, Live Rust. Boy, that had some. I mean, Neil Young could be an asshole, and I mean, he acts like that sometimes. But man, that music gets you kind of pumped up. You know, he had some banging songs in there. It's just Rust Never Sleeps was like a little hey hey my had that little part in it where he says, Rust never sleeps, maybe gone, but you're not forgot.
Yeah.
But yeah, the album live was like it was much more interesting to me than listening to a studio album. It had a little more something to it. And I didn't know what it meant by Crazy Horse. I found out later that's his band, I guess. I didn't even know. I was like, why does
Yeah.
he call everything Crazy Horse? Who's Crazy Horse? Some Indian guy playing with him? Or I'm not trying to be an asshole, but that's
Yeah.
what I thought. I said, that sounds like an Indian name, like And like the band, it must have been what the band was called. Oh, okay. All right. One I did not like. I will get into some I didn't like.
Okay.
I was not a Wings fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I liked a few songs, Silly Little Love Song and Band on the Run, but I just didn't care about it. And I got this for like a birthday present or a Christmas gift. It was Wings Over America. And it was like, I don't remember ever, maybe one time listening to it. Maybe I didn't listen to it enough. But it's just like, I didn't get it. I was like, it's a little too soft, I thought at the time, because, it came out about the same time that Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2.
Yeah.
So, it was kind of sandwiched between those two albums for live album. And we might as well go ahead and talk to Kisses. Kiss Alive 1 had something to it. It kind of puts me in the vein of Budokan and Frampton with the vibe feels there.
Okay.
It's like raw. It's in Cobo Hall where they recorded the thing. It's got the picture on the back of the kids holding up the sign. They're on the front and they're all their decked out outfits with the purple and pink lights behind them. It's just they're in this big group shot, all jamming.
It blew your
And the
fucking
album,
mind, right? It
yeah. And it was great for the first three albums. I mean, that absolutely captured the first three albums Kiss put out. And I'm like, well, it's kind of where I get that you can learn a lot from bands from live albums, because that did it. That was like, oh, I want to go back. And live was the one that got me into Kiss big time. Because I'd heard my buddy was like, listen to Dress to Kill. I was like, that's pretty good. Like first album was like, that's a little, didn't care for it as much, but I really liked it later. It's one of
yeah.
them you had to work into. But yeah, that live album was like, I'm sold. And, and I really dug that. And then they had Destroyer come out, which was great. Rock and Roll Over comes out. And then the pinnacle. Right after Love Gun, you get the pinnacle of success with Live 2. Not only does the front cover catch you, Gene's blood, and you got the sweaty Ace, and Peter, and then Paul, and you open it up, and it's got them on the risers, all the risers that were moving around. And I had seen this because it was like my first concert, and I'd seen all this, but it was cooler looking even in the pictures because it was
yeah.
like up close and personal. And what I liked the songs on Alive 2 better because I was really into the Destroyer album and the Love Gun album. But that last album, that fourth side, was the original with the studio song on. That was like a beautiful addition to that album. That was Rocket Ride, All American Man, songs like that. It was like just classic, great stuff. So yeah, if I had to choose to listen to one Kiss a live Kiss album, discounting Alive 3 because I've never heard it, I don't think it's going to beat 2. Just personal preference. One was groundbreaking. 2 was just that's Kiss Army.
Yeah.
That is Kiss Army music right there. Thank God. And I got the Alive shirt, but I have to go with Alive 2. I just have to. Fantastic. Both of them are good. Here's one we always agree on. We agree on this guy. Doesn't get his due probably from most people. Bob Seger.
Oh yeah.
The live tonight, or live bullet. I'm sorry. They had 9 Tonight was another one, but this one I got is a live bullet because it was recorded in Detroit, right in the middle of the heyday of his, right before he really. I mean, he took off big in the late '70s
Yeah.
and into the '80s, but he was solid already. This just kind of pumped it up. '76, right in the middle, right before I think Night Moves was coming out, and our Stranger in Town, and then he started he was a superstar, and I
Yeah.
think this one catapulted it a little bit. But that's a great album. Another one I have down here is another introductory album, because I didn't get the hype people were talking about this band from England. They looked kind of weird. They were called Judas Priest. I'm like, what is this junk? I don't get this stuff. People talking at
Oh,
school,
shit.
oh, British Steel's great album, man. You got to check. I don't want to hear no Judas Priest. That sounds stupid. Then they said, well, at least check this out. It's like a guy with like a biker hat and all leather on the front. I'm like, what in the world is this? They said, just give it a shot. I think I was pretty hooked after Green Monolishi. I don't think it took much after that. It
Yeah.
was just that album was fucking killer, dude. Unleashed in the East. Oh, I mean, it was just that. Yeah, I said, oh yeah, give me everything you got. Yeah, I didn't care for like Rock-a-Rolla so much, maybe in stained glass, but I got up to like, yeah, Point of Entry, British Steel, Screaming, of course,
Oh,
everything,
yeah.
most
Yeah.
everything beyond that. But that kind of introduced me and it kick-started me to quit being so closed-minded because that was what I was being. The name, I
Yeah.
don't like the name, I don't like the guy's look, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by the outcome of that. Oh, one we talk about a lot and is really in the spotlight right today. Exit Stage Left, the Rush album in '81. Oh yeah, dude, they're just as good. I mean, it made you feel like you know it's hard to believe these guys can actually play that stuff they're playing live. But here they were
Yeah.
showing it to you. If you hadn't, I hadn't seen Rush at this point because I was still a relatively young kid, 13. So I was like, no, but I got the hype for it. So when I did get the chance later in my life, I went. You know, and it was like, yeah, it didn't disappoint when I saw them either. So it's definitely one of those things. It's just a solid album that really showed that they can do what they say they do on their studio album.
Yeah.
They can do it. It was pretty cool. Oh, as much as I don't like sometimes the politicized stuff with U2, I can't sit here and lie and say I didn't like early U2.
Yeah.
I still think to this day Joshua Tree is one of the greatest albums ever made. I just have to admit that to myself, whether or not I
Yeah.
admit it to anybody else. But I remember the Red Rocks concert where
Oh,
it was on
wow.
MTV all the time. The Sunday Bloody Sunday live from Red Rocks. And that's what this album is. It's called Under a Blood Red Sky.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the early, New Year's Day, all that good stuff that was U2 back in the day. And like I said, they got their standoffish issues, but I don't care. It's the Joshua Tree. And this album, I remember hearing it years ago. I didn't revisit it or anything, but I bet it's good. I'm gonna have to go listen to it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to go listen to it again because it's been a long time. We'll get it. Oh, here's one in the mid '80s that was probably more on your radar when
Okay.
it came out than it was mine. Live After Death, the Iron Maiden.
Yes.
See now, Iron Maiden's got what 10? They
Oh
got
my
like 10
God.
live albums. They have
Yes.
live albums a lot, which
A lot.
I think the early ones like this carried a little more weight though because it was still relatively new. And if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, that would be 1985 would have been right after Peace of Mind or
I
somewhere in
think
time,
so.
maybe around that, in between those two, maybe.
Yeah.
So
Somewhere in
yeah,
that
that would have
area.
been yeah. So I can't remember if I've heard that or not. I know I've heard several different variations of Iron Maiden live albums. Like 666, I think I heard the one. It was the 666. What the hell was the name of that? I
Flight
just
six
remember
six
six.
six.
Yeah, 666. Yeah,
But that well
and
that had the video.
yeah, a lot of them had videos of theirs for sure.
And
Yeah.
and I remember there was with Paul Diano, there was a video of them playing live.
Oh, like Killers era.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I know they've done a
that's
ton.
out there, but I don't think I remember the name of the Iron Maiden if they did an
Oh,
album then.
I think it's called Live Killer. No, that's Queen. They got Queen had an album called Live Killers because I loved that album and I had
Okay.
that album. Yeah. So I don't remember the the Paul Diano live album. I'll
Well,
have to check into that.
again, that was video because a buddy of mine had it. So I was like going, "Who the fuck is this?" He said, "That's the original singer, Paul Diano," and I went, "Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
he's
just
got a
I
good.
just knew Bruce.
Yeah,
That's
Rough Child was a bad song.
well,
I mean,
you
he
know
had
what
some
I'm
good
saying.
songs.
So
Hmm.
it was like my entry to Iron Maiden was Number of the Beast and Up. That was the songs and shit that I
Yeah.
heard. So I had to,
Yeah,
okay,
that's where I started getting into it too, was about that same era, but I
yeah.
went backwards later, yeah. But
So
it's
there's
all
there's
good, man.
so many you know live Maiden albums that you just got to go with that classic. But that
Yeah,
album
yeah.
cover was iconic. I've got a poster in my room of it. Still like a
Yeah, that's right.
tapestry.
Yeah,
So
yeah, if you're really into I got the Peace of Mind era. I was really into it. And Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son. I didn't even know for years, dude, that Seventh Son was a concept album. I had no idea. So it's like I look at that different now that
yeah,
I know that it's
well,
concept album.
I mean, I kind of think of legendary live albums in the golden age of. So
Yeah.
you're talking the late '60s into the early '70s, because when you
Yeah.
start hitting the '80s, some of them were great albums, but it didn't have the impact that the live albums had in the '70s.
Right. Like the Queen Live Killers album. I mean, that was a banging two album set. I had the Alice Cooper show. That was I had a great album cover to it. And it was like it was like encompassing everything Alice Cooper had done up until that point. Billion Dollar Babies and Only Women
Yeah,
Bleed and all that good stuff. So yeah, and I had all those albums at one point, and I listened to live albums more than I think I did any other because in my imagination world,
you
I
were
would go down
there.
to the base. I would go in the basement and fake play it.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
stick a screwdriver in this pole we had in the wall, and I'd have pool cue. I'd be up singing and have somebody come down. They took a flashlight like that, and we get the lights going around there. It's like that was a lot of my childhood when it was, especially cold outside. We didn't go out as
yeah.
much. But yeah, I love all my live albums I had, and I still enjoy live albums a lot just because I think it's a little bit off from the studio albums, but it's okay because it shows little tiny imperfections that know, hey, they 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 can nail this stuff when they get plenty of time to do it. They can nail damn near it when they're doing live performance, and it
Well,
still sounds great for the most part.
uh, there was what was that? It's pronounced Leonard Skinnerd. Wasn't that a
Yeah,
live album?
pronounced. I don't know if pronounced was. If it was, I didn't hear like crowd behind it or something. I don't know. Maybe
Maybe
it
I was
was.
thinking something. I thought they had a live album too, so I
They
might have
might.
got that.
They might. Yeah, I didn't hear it if they did. Not back then. I don't think I've ever heard a live album from them. But they're not saying they don't have one. Because say there was some live albums that I didn't know, like Talking Heads. Who cares? I mean, Talking Heads are good, but I don't think I'd want to sit through a live album. The band, I watched that on TV. I didn't know who they were. It was like on the one of those movie channel stars or something. And I seen
Okay.
this guy playing the drums and singing "The Night They singing and playing drums, and the night they drove old Dixie down,
Yeah.
and it was like everybody's making a big deal. I said, well, it's just a concert, right? I didn't
Yeah.
know it was their last show ever, and that they were a pretty prominent band in their genre of music, and especially I think they were from Canada to boot, so they were kind of like big in certain sections. But I wasn't into the folkier rock
Yeah.
jam band stuff like that, so I missed out on that. And after like you said, we get out into the 80s and 90s and beyond, they're not as important anymore. Of course, there's always one that comes up out of left field somewhere that will kind of say, "Oh man, I'm glad that got recorded. I'm so glad that's a live album." And weirdly, as much as I don't care for acoustical stuff sometimes, the Nirvana Unplugged, dude, that's a phenomenal live album. And there was
Yeah.
a lot of unplugs that were Alice in Chains is right behind them.
Yes.
I mean, right on their ass. And there's a lot of other bands that did really great acoustic unplugged performances on that show. But those two are the standouts. But I
Yeah.
think the album wise, Nirvana's got more attention just because I don't really know why, I guess, but just that Kurt, died earlier than Lane did. I don't know. But yeah, that was just phenomenal. All the covers he did, Kurt did.
Well, okay, so I'm just going to touch on this just briefly. So you got into the 80s, and like you said, uh, you had Iron Maiden. Uh, One of my favorite 80s live albums was Beast from the East from Dokken.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
still, to me, that is a great fucking album. But flash forward and you hear that some of the live albums, some of the artists go back in and kind of fix shit. So
yeah. You've heard that. Yeah, I've
so
heard that too.
I've heard it. You know I can't pinpoint. Okay, this was actually this. This was so it's out there. It's been known that they might boost the crowd or
Yeah,
fiddle fuck
boost
with
the
shit.
crowd. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
boosting the crowd's the one I hear the most.
So
That and it's
on
like, yeah, whatever.
on that point, on that point. So it doesn't mean they weren't great live albums, but they did. I think if they did doctor it a little bit to make it better quality, I get it. I might not always agree with it, but when they did the unplugged, you couldn't fake that.
Yeah,
That
and
was
there's
that
some.
was a genuine live performance. I mean, they
Yeah,
could edit it. You could edit it, but
well, you
that
had to.
was
Yeah, yeah, had to
yeah,
master it and all that. But yeah, there's some where it's like they're great shows, but they're piss poor recorded, and it's like sad. I mean, and
well,
I'd rather have, but I don't mind that if it's an authentic recording and I could still hear the meat and potatoes of it, And if it's got a little twist here and there where it goes, guitar squeals or you hear a popping noise,
or the
that's almost
feedback from the
cool.
mic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's almost as cool because it makes you feel more like, okay,
Yeah.
they don't even care. They're putting out what they play. That's great. And I mean there's good and bad, but man, I think going back in them days, those live albums were game changers for a lot of these bands.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I got to hear them, most of them. I mean,
Yeah.
Rolling Stones and the Allman Brothers, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I missed you. And you too, I will come back and listen to you again because I do remember it, but it's been a while since I heard that.
Well, one more from the road was the Leonard Skinner live album
Okay, I've heard
in
that name, but I had never heard that album. That'll
in
be another one.
'76. Yeah, I haven't either, but we have heard. I mean, at least the rock station that we have locally that has been classic rock for years and
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
Uh, they would pick live songs. So some of these songs I've heard if I haven't heard the whole album. Just like George Thorogood, one
Yeah,
bourbon, one
yeah,
scotch, and a beer.
yeah. I
I
don't know
mean
what
that.
album that would even be on, but that was a great live performance.
So you know what
Must
I'm
have got,
saying?
yeah, must have got lost by Jay Giles.
Oh, Jake, yeah. So
Yeah,
we've heard these for years. Some of these
yeah,
live tracks, even though we hadn't gone and done a deep dive. That's kind of why I did Frampton. I wanted to do
yeah,
Frampton because it's
yeah.
like, hey, I've heard. Do you feel like I do? Show me the way. We heard that on the radio for years, and it's like I've never listened to that whole album.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There's
So
some I need. Yeah, I need to do some of those too. Like Thunder Road live, even from Springsteen back in the day, was a big deal on the radio. They played it a lot
yes,
because
there
it
was a
was
lot
like
of tracks that
very. It was intimate. It was Born to Run was on one. Thunder Road was on the other. It's just like, yeah, I might have to check that album out, and I still might. I just, I get caught up in not revisiting the past, right? I
yeah.
like to sometimes stay in the present or the future, but yeah, I need to go back check some of those out because live albums are really for me. That's what I dig. Ginger live in Melbourne and live in Los Angeles, my top two albums of the five years past, because it's every song Ginger does that I love. They compact it together and it's all there, just like I'm at the show.
Well,
But not, it's just so happens I search them out. There's probably tons of other great live albums. So get on your streaming service, get on whatever you need to, look up your favorite bands, and they probably have a live album somewhere that would be cool for you to listen to. Yeah.
exactly. All right. Well, let's wrap this up, Mikey.
Yes, sir.
All right. This is Skeet.
I am Mosh and Mike.
See ya!
Peace out.